So welcome to my talk about, thank you. SVG didn't listen until I spoke JavaScript, where I actually go through my journey about my curiosity about SVG and how it ended up to some discoveries that we go through together. To JavaScript, welcome to TorontoJS. You have to know JavaScript a little bit at least. And I'm going to show some React and SSR snippets probably, but I'm not going to explain it. So if you have like some previous background, it would help you understand it. So my name is Kiarash Bahrami, but you can call me Kia because that's a long name. Shout out to the corporate. I'm developer, freelancer, full-time Linux and Vim user. Linux user will tell you if they are. And speaking of full-time, I'm actually looking for a full-time job. So if you're hiring, I'm all good. So either you're a developer or a Linux user who becomes a sysadmin, or a Vim user, or a person that takes on a daily basis. The plain text is where you are comfortable with. You would like to edit the plain text. I mean, like as a sysadmin, you edit configurations. As a developer, you edit code snippets or Vim user. And yeah, when it comes to text files, that's where you are comfortable. And when it comes to me, I'm all three of them. So I always thought, can I make images in plain text? Can I make images in my editor? And for that, we need plain text images. So is there anything like that? Which actually I spoiled it in the title, the SVGs. So let's, before hopping into that, like how SVG is a plain text, quote unquote, let's take a look at this cat picture. And so let's say if this cat picture wasn't an SVG, it was just a JPG, and we try to, for some reason, open it in a text editor, the text editor would do its best to show some text, but it's actually a binary file, and it tries to kind of sum up that binary file into some UTF-8 characters. Depends on your text editor, really, to be honest. So some text editors would just refuse it, but that's how it would look like. The only string there, if you look closely, I don't know if you even can, but it's just Adobe, which is the metadata. But if you open it on the SVG, if it was an SVG and you open it on a editor, I'm not sure if the code snippets are visible enough, but you can see some English words there, like encoding XML. If you're a developer, XML would like sound amazing to you, and you can see some XML syntax as well. And so it's better right now. It's like human readable a little bit. I mean, compared to JPG. Not only SVG comes up with the benefit of being readable in your text editor, it's perfectly scalable. It's just a markup language about how this vector is going to be rendered. So whatever size that we try to original sizes, and we try to change it in the future, nothing is going to change, which unlike other image formats, that's not really the case. So moving on, and another thing about the SVG, I can just go there and make the whiskers eyebrows like this. If I wanted to do this in something like JPG, PNG, etc., I would have, I don't know, pick an eraser tool or whatever it is. I'm not a designer, I'm a developer. That's why I would like to actually do the edits and the image manipulation in my text editor, and that's what was the whole kind of bootstrap to this presentation today here. So, but to be honest, I actually lied about its human readable. It's really not. I mean, like if you take SVG from a actual designer, a person who actually like illustrated in a designer software, that software usually uses path elements, which is a SVG elements, which is just like a array of coordinations, I would say. So that's not, if you look closely, if it's visible for people on the back, it's just numbers. So that's not really, you can't really just like sit down and type coordinates. But it doesn't stop us to use the other elements. SVGs comes with shapes. And so let's just take a look. How would a rectangle code snippet look like? So you would just give it a position of X and Y, the width and height. And you can't even give it more properties. It's literally just like, it's an XML, so it's XML syntax. If you're a web developer, you're already familiar with. You can get into the documentation, but you now can imagine that now we have rectangles. We can kind of do pixel art maybe in text editor. I'm not sure. We can go further into the presentation. There are other shapes as well. There are circle, ellipse, line, and we even have text other than the shapes. So the other shapes, there are like more shapes, but the ones that I didn't mention, they were like the same scenario with the path. You had to type coordinates. So you can use text. So SVG is just XML. You can use SVG in DOM, HTML. So, and you can manipulate DOM HTML with JavaScript. So you can say, where am I going? So can you manipulate SVG with JavaScript now? And let's go into my experiment. So what I did, I tried to kind of tweak with the SVG text before getting to the, oh, I want this like pixelated like editor idea. So that's what I did. I just made a simple text, and I made it, so you don't have to do that actually. This is a worst case scenario, but I took it from my literally the first ever experience. So I did a very hacky way of like calculating the frame per second and kind of implementing it in the JS6 syntax, and this is how it looks like. It's so easy, actually easier than that. You can just set the stroke dash with the state use, but I didn't want to really kind of get into like the perfect way of doing it. I just wanted to show my experiments before getting more experience with it. And you can do it as well with SVG. You don't even have to write JavaScript. So that was my very first experiment, and I wanted to do rectangles. I really wanted to get into shapes and pixels. So what you can do, so imagine that you want to kind of draw this art in your editor. So what if we had something that it would just calculate the next pixel? For example, I don't want to write the rectangles and copy paste it and change the coordinates, then copy paste it and change the coordinates. I know that I can do it with the programming language, and my programming language was JavaScript, and that's how I did, for example, a rectangle here, which the component takes a number, which is the size of the kind of a square in this case, but the rectangle is the element's name. So that's how it would look like if you give it the n of the 2, 4, and 16. That's how it would look like. And so, but the code snippet that I showed you, it wasn't really a valid SVG. I mean, like you can just like export it and give it to a designer. So that's where SSG comes. React DOM has a static markup renderer, and yeah, that's not a valid SVG. Thanks for mentioning it. And yeah. And that's what I did. I implemented a kind of a logic that renders to a static markup, and I did some front end for like the buttons and the modals, so I could do whatever I wanted to and just click on that button and get a valid SVG in a pop-up with the help of the React DOM SSG tool. And another problem that I had with the text, that was the actual pain point of mine writing this kind of presentation. The SVG didn't listen. It implies about how it doesn't listen to responsiveness. You can really, it's so hard to make it responsive. So that trust the process text is not really responsive. So how would you do it? So SVG comes with a kind of a view box, and you can just connect the view box to the side of the browser. You can make it to be ever of the browser. That's so. I mean, it was so amazing that I made a talk about it, and I'm here with you guys. And yeah. And I just made a like kind of indicator about like the text is there, that actually how the responsive SVG text is handling the different screen sizes. Right now, you can see like when I go to the dev tools and I simulate the phone screen size, it just works and it's responsive. And it's so great that JavaScript, SVG listens to the JavaScript. And moving on, I actually try to make it interactive, one step closer to my kind of making an editor even in React and JavaScript just by SVG. So the button is there, the canvas is there. I would just go there, change the pixel colors, get a static render, and I have a kind of a basic pixel art kind of editor. And I try to make a game. So this is not the actual gameplay. I actually tried to make a game. The moment that I shared this with my friends, they were like, oh, you have to make a game that we can compete with each other at the real time. So, for example, every single one of us have their own canvas. We are going to draw our own stuff, and we are going to submit it, and we can vote about it. And this was a great idea at first, but the more and more we got into it, I had inconsistency with the browsers, different browsers, because so it wasn't really an in-person thing. It was an internet thing. I just showed it to the internet feedback to me, and people on the internet have different browsers and slow join times. So why is that? Why do we have slow join times? Because so every time a person joins, there is a new canvas, and that whole canvas gets queried to the database, and that part is fine. It's a database thing, but the browser now has to handle every single canvas and rendering the SVG on their device, which is fine for our devices, but there are like some people out there that are like running like, I don't know, Intel Core Duo or something like that. But yeah, so you can see how SSG actually comes in handy. Like we know that their browser is not powerful enough, but what is powerful enough? Our servers. So we can just query once and just deliver the rendered SVGs, and they can join their browser can actually handle the WebSocket connections and struggle with that before rendering the SVG and having inconsistency. So that's how SSR actually came in really handy. And we kind of went through rectangles and shapes and text, but there is another element that really, actually when I was wrapping this presentation up, I discovered about it. You can just put a script tag inside the SVG and a style tag too. So your whole SVG can be just delivered without any HTML. Even before it becomes a DOM element by itself, it can be its own thing. So that's what I did. I just put a script tag to demonstrate how it would look like if I didn't run it on the browser, and how would it look like if I run it on the browser. Like one is image viewer and one is the browser. So you can see how really the possibilities are now widened. And this kind of functionality is usually used just for the animations. So for example, let's say this how would this SVG look like if you open it in the image viewer, same thing. This is how it would look like if we open it in a browser. I'm not a designer. I know there's a person out there who did a better job in animation than me. But what I did actually, so when I saw the script tag, I know that I have to try the fetch API. So that's what I did. I made a whole mini game of kind of this scribbled. So let me explain what it does. So it actually fetches an API, which it fetches a sentence, which is a code, daily codes, and it just scrambles by itself until after 5 seconds you can click on the screen and make it pause. And so the minigame is about you make a sense of it, you make the sense of the sentence. So you literally can make your SVG a whole minigame by itself just because of that script tag functionality. So that was literally my last discovery before I wrapped the presentation up. So let's have a recap before wrapping everything up. So it all went from what if I could draw in plain text to what if the SVG could listen to the browser state. And yeah, SVG didn't listen until I spoke JavaScript. And the take of it would be the SVG is interactive, can be browser-aware, and can even fetch its data. What you debug can think with JavaScript. And that's it. Thank you for listening. And if there is any questions, thank you.
Okay, thanks for the interesting presentation. And just a simple question, could you let me know where I can see the real example codes of your presentation? Because I just missed some parts of the codes and I want to see that again.
Right, I mean the snippets are just like image files. I can, if you really want to, I can share the actual snippets in the Slack of the TorontoJS, but yeah, that would be a better option. Yeah,
yeah, thank you.
So now I found out script tags can be in SVGs. Does that mean that they are a security concern if your site accepts SVG uploads? So I think that's interesting. Do you know more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you shouldn't. So the common sense about like files from the internet is not open it in the browser, really. And so you shouldn't open the SVG file in the browser, same because of the script tag. So that would be a. Thanks for mentioning it. Now it's kind of made the security awareness for all of you guys. Thank me later, but yeah, that would be the case for the PDFs as well. If you can put JavaScript in PDFs, so you should really think twice before opening anything in your browser. But thanks for mentioning it.
All that when that ran on my browser. The whole talk is SVG and it ran on my browser.
I made for the context, I made a whole kind of web app that just like goes through the folder of your personal computer and serves all of these slides are SVGs, by the way. So yeah, other than the video ones, so it goes through the SVGs, it automatically scales. So that's the context. We ran it on the computer.
Any more questions?
Okay.
All right. He'll be here in the networking session. Feel free to catch him and ask any questions to him. Thank you.